All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Let's get ready to go live in five, four, three, two, one. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, Wayfarer. I hope you're doing well. Take a moment, if you would, to relax, get ready for the show. Try to get some things ready backstage. So, in the meantime, let's run the intro. Wizard, warrior, wanderer, wayfarer, and wildcat alike, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission, I hope you are doing well. Welcome back, beloved. I'm broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone, Old Peking, far behind the bamboo firewall in the Grand Orient. Your friend and well-wisher, Frank Monday, Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, Eastern Star Lodge. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power, silence is strength. Will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation, because love is the law, love under will, and do what thou wilt. Once again, like Finnegan, let's run the intro. See if this is going to work. Good magic. It's another one of those old Frank Monday productions coming at ya.
Okay, guys, our next comedian is a bit of a treat, to be honest. It is a bit of a treat. He's been away for 3 years. He is now back from the dead. Well, America. Give a big round of applause for Frank Monday.
Appreciate that shit. Nick's a good man. You know what that's like, being a good man. It's tough in a fucking city like this, though. You know, nobody gives a fuck. They're like, God damn, that's some crazy shit. Motherfucker wearing high heels and shit. Looking good, too, huh? Yeah, you guys like that. That's all right. It's okay to fall down occasionally. I do that sometimes. Alright, being back in the G is pretty fucking nerve-wracking. You know, performing for 4 minutes straight. The only other time I get this anxious when I gotta perform for 4 minutes straight is when I gotta make love to my wife.
Onion ring. Yeah, they're all right.
Hey, be watching for the Star Wars blog Rebellion coming out in December. You'll love it. It's follow-up to the award-winning Generations. Oh yeah. There you go, Frank.
Here's my burger. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, good times, man. I can appreciate that. Old Frank Monday hanging out the beach in old hometown sunny Southern California, Los Angeles. I think I was at Huntington Beach here A lot of those shots, you know, from LA, old school LA, man. Old Frank Monday hanging out in the Jing, doing some stand up comedy. It's good magic, man. I can appreciate it. I hope you can appreciate it as well, Wayfarer. Good looking out. Thanks for stopping by. If you're listening to the video now or later, either way, keep doing good magic. All right, we're going to launch into the Adoration of Abraxas. Let's get it. Lunar Light Entertainment proudly presents, in conjunction with the 100-Day Challenge, a short presentation of the Adoration of Abraxas. Enjoy.
Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and a cleansing wind to disperse all negativity and endless human opinion. Teach us those things which we must know for the completion of the great work and the glory of thine ineffable name. Adonai. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Thank you for stopping by, everyone. Good luck with the 100-Day Challenge and good magic.
All right, all right, all right. I can appreciate that. Let's see what else is going on the internet.
Lies of the machine on the machine that lies. Basically, you know, on the stream, The Machine Lies, we're taking a very critical look at technology. So the reason we're doing that is because we're looking at the medium that is used to communicate, right, and transmit information, right? We don't think that any form of mediation is neutral, right, but it's laden with values. And so I think that the well has been polluted by technology. So obviously we take a critical look at technology, right? Okay, we're looking at different concepts in relation to technology, right? In terms of philosophy, right? And in terms of religion. Now, that is one of the main purposes of the show, is that we really look at where technology and religion, science, and spirituality, where those things intersect, right? Because there's a crisis of the modern world in which there's a majority of the modern world is religious people. Their mindset is secular, and the means they employ are secular. We're living in a post-liberal, post-human, post-geological age, right? So we're talking about the death of liberalism, the rise of the world technological system. Now, we do think that, okay, there's a considerable level of, you know, externalization of the ego, okay, and mediation of ourselves through the means we employ. So obviously, you know, we shape tools, but the tools we use shape us, right? So that's one of the main things we're trying to get across on the show, is how technology changes human psychology. If you question the means you employ and what the objective factors of power are in our age, right, then that's the most important question you can ask, right? That's the most critical stance you could actually take, right? Like, most people don't question, you know, how or what means they use to question, to ask the question itself, right? So we're actually taking a critical look at technology, right, as a primary form of communication, as an objective factor of power in our age, right? And we think that basically we're assuming that a lot of the stuff that we see through this medium is totally made up, right? Fabricated. And that is based on the fact that it is artifice. It's produced by a machine, right? So we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies.
All right, all right, all right. Yeah, that's a fact, huh? That's the truth right there, brothers and sisters. Oh man, oh yeah, I'm trying to get it together, guys. Trying to launch into a show here. I was over at Jack Talcott's this morning watching him, and he only went for an hour. A little bit disappointing, you know. Wasn't much jelly in the donut, you know. Didn't have much lead in his pencil. I find that that'll happen oftentimes. Like I don't know if I've got folks to banter back and forth with, I can go 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 hours, right? The energy's always there. But if you're just doing a monologue, right, and just operating the show behind the scenes on your own, about an hour seems about right, you know. Sometimes I'll go 2, but that's kind of pushing it, I believe. I'm not sure how to get this stuff out of here. Like, yeah, okay. Everything on Restream's a little bit different than StreamYard. And StreamYard, honestly, I think is the better of the two systems. I'd like to acknowledge the people tuning in today. Uh, Dominique Ters, Tersigny, Ters, Terzigny, Dominique Terzigny, good to see you out in Happy Land, man. I hope you're doing all right. Frater Dominique, Namaste Frank, and other beings here. Yeah, good magic, man. I can appreciate that. We got a Wayfarer named Chris saying namas. That doesn't say namaste, does it? It says namaskar. Namaskar and namaskar. Yeah, that's a little bit of the Indian language, right? That I don't understand, but welcome, Wayfarer. Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. If it's your first time, don't let it be your last time. Hit the likes for the algobots and all that happy horse shit, you know, that makes YouTube bark like Pavlov's dog, because that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get the echo, the feedback, so that we can grow and expand and touch more souls, genuine living souls, not fake ones. So I hope you are a real entity there, Chris. Not sure. I don't even know if Dominique. I think Dominique. It seems like I've talked to you once or twice before, and it seems like you might actually be a living, breathing human being, not just an AI partner created by the Algobots to entertain me. Because there are a few of those. I've met a few internet tourists that turned out not even to be human; they were just bots. But they've got that those large language model um, devices. They what they call the AI, right? The asshats and the idiots. They've got them up to a level where they can interact with you now, even with live video, like Zoom calls, and it's legit enough that you can think it's real. So that's interesting, right? That's got to keep us guessing, keep us on our toes. Which it's half a dozen one way and six the other, right? Um, so let me show you a little bit of what we got to get in here today. If anybody wants to join me, just let me know and I'll drop the link. Entire screen. I was trying to chop up a video because Restream only lets you upload really, really small videos, and so let me see here, like 250 megabytes. So you have to kind of like reduce the quality on everything and then cut it into smaller sections and stuff like that. So it's kind of a whole thing, right? Um, which I may or may not be willing to do from time to time. Yeah, sometimes I do it. And sometimes I do it in advance. But sometimes I don't. I forgot. So I forgot with StreamYard today that, not StreamYard, Restream. I forgot with Restream that you have to do that. So we'll just go ahead and skip that part for now, guys, and get right into today's content. Good magic, man. Good looking out. Y'all good looking sexy people out there in Happy Land. Yeah, so we've already done the adoration and the intro. I'd like to do the invocation of Tahuti too, but we'll kind of preface what we're going to look at here on the old Frank Monday channel. I think you can see my screen. Hopefully, I don't have any naked ladies showing. Looks pretty good. Looks says I got two things loaded up over here. Let's see how that's real. Frank Monday camera and Frank Monday screen share. Okay, good magic. Yeah, so the screen is sharing as far as I can tell, and today is July 20th, Sunday at 8:30 a.m. here in Twilight Zone, Old Peking. So Wayfarer, if you're tuning in from, let's see if we can open it without disturbing everything. Yeah, if you're tuning in from Tokyo, Then it's 9:30 a.m. Getting well into your day. Sydney folks over there in Australia are getting ready for their probably their morning breakfast or coffee on a Sunday. I guess 10:30. We got Beijing. We got Memphis. Memphis has still got daylight. That's interesting to think about, even though it's 7:30 p.m. in Memphis, 5:30 in LA. Oh, pretty early. I thought it was a little later. I thought we were close to prime time in the U.S., which would put New York City. What does it say? New York City. Oh yeah, New York City's looking pretty close to prime time. It's 8:33. Wow, good magic, huh? Dublin, Ireland. You guys are in the abodes of twilight. All right, Paris as well. Paris getting a little closer after the witching hour. They're getting close to the deviling hour. All right, the devil's hour, 3:33. See if anybody's on the devil's hour. Berlin, Stockholm. No, so on and so forth. Everybody's looking pretty good. So yeah, I think most of you have moved into the 20th. It says today we're going to have better mental clarity. Right, these red numbers indicate an abundance of physical energy, and the green numbers indicate an abundance of mental energy. So that's good magic. We've got Taurus going into Gemini. Maybe that has something to do with it, right? And that'll happen at 6:23 a.m. So my moon cycle here in Beijing is already in Gemini. Moon in Gemini, Sun in Leo. Wow, Sun's going into Leo on the 22nd. So the Sun currently is at the tail end of Cancer. All right, the starry crab. I I can read some of this stuff below, but I haven't studied in any great depth as to what any of it really means. I know that this is the degrees of lunar light, and then it will be complete lights out on the 24th. It's kind of interesting, huh? And then the cycle will reboot. So we're at the end of a lunar cycle, the last week, the fourth quarter. That's good magic. We got this open over here, and we're going to get into the meaning of magic by Israel Regardi, the art and meaning of magic. And we already read some of this, but I'm going to recidivate just a little in order to get everybody on page. How's my audio out in Happy Land? Could you guys hear me okay? Let me check the ideas room. See if there's any fun stuff going on over there. Nope. Okay. We just got the namastes from Chris and the namastes from Dominique, and we're still looking good. All right. Looks like we have got a strong connection this morning. That's excellent, man. I can appreciate that. So yeah, as I said here, today's transmission will be to continue to study magic and have a look at Jesus through a Gnostic lens. Yeah, I'll be cutting up that video in the background, guys, as we go through some of this material. I am going to go ahead and upload and walk us through the invocation of Thoth, Mercury, Odin, Ludomping, the ancient Egyptian god of magic and oration, Tahuti. And but meanwhile, let's preface this study in magic. So again, we're going through Israel Regardi's art and meaning of magic. He goes on to say, like, I try to use my best Israel Regardi voice for you guys. I know some of you appreciate it. All right. Magic, as already remarked, is a practical system, and every part has been devised for experimentation. Each part is capable of verification using appropriate methods. Each student may check it for himself and thus discover the realities of his own divine nature as well as the universe both within and without him, independently of what any other man may have written in any book. Right? So there is a process, a scientific process underway here of experimentation, verification, and peer feedback over a long tradition of magicians. Yeah. So I've done this essential work and thus I have knowledge of magic. I don't believe in magic. You need to make that distinction there. I've gone through and I've proved through experimentation and repeatably verifiable results that these things work. Now, I'm not going to get into all the fucking weeds about what that is, but it's up to each individual to do this. We ask for experiment, demand it even, for the sake of mankind. We invite the earnest and sincere student to experiment for himself with that technique described in blah, 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 chapter 10, blah, blah, and compare his results, the journey to any one path of the Sephiroth with correspondence briefly delineated in my other work, and or in Dion Fortune's The Mystical Kabbalah. So he gives a couple of reference points: Garden of Pomegranates and Mystical Kabbalah. Definitely, you want to read through those and see if any of your spiritual journey has been documented therein, and find out where you're at in your cultivation of a magical understanding. Because you may find that many of your life experiments can be confirmed within the pages of those books, and you'll say, wow, so that is what was happening when I was going through this, that, or the other thing, right? Because the fool's journey has been well documented for at least the last 500 years, and most of that is based in the ancient teachings of the Western mystery tradition. So you need not walk this path alone, Wayfarer. I am here for you, and many other magicians have offered their guidance as well. It is with the utmost confidence that I say 100 astral journeys obtained in that way will correspond in every instance with the major symbols, names, numbers, and ideas recorded in the several books of the Kabbalah. Yeah, and those are just brass tacks, man. Those are facts. So uh, I would say don't get left behind, Wayfarer, right? Don't walk the path alone. Quit the darkness and seek the light. Quit the night and seek the day. Let me quote from the record of a colleague illuminating passage or two illustrating what I mean. The following is a vision or waking dream, fantasy of the so-called 30-second path. Okay, so he goes on to talk about that, and I read that already. And in fact, it's interesting. I read this short description of this, and then I sat in a garden yesterday when I had a few moments, and I contemplated, and the whole thing unfolded in front of me. Right. So once I put the seed out, like it just it appeared and expanded like a flower of magic within my mind, and I was like, oh, okay. So once you've got the magical, once you're underway on the magical endeavor, all you need ever do is pull one of those major arcana images, and you can watch the whole thing play out in front of you. So what a great thing. I guess it requires, kind of at least 20 years of striving and diligent study in order to achieve that level of internal visual acuity in viewing with the astral light. But it's a real thing. Like these things are vibrant, and many magician will attest to, they're realer than real, right? They're realer than even this prime material plane. The student of the Kabbalah who has only a passing acquaintance with tarot symbolism will recognize here the 21st Atu of the world, the path attributed to Saturn, linking the physical to the astral worlds. He will probably be very surprised to learn that the symbols on these cards represent dynamic and exceedingly vital realities. But I must pass on to a brief description of the entrance to Yasad. Okay, so that's what we're going to be getting into next, guys. What a wonderful, valuable thing to read together today here on the transmission with you, Wayfarer. Now, I don't know if I can just directly, I think I'm going to have to remove that in order to get my own mug full screen again and be able to work from behind the scenes to open up some other things. Yeah. Take a moment, if you would, Wayfarer, to take a deep breath in and hold for 3, 2, 1. Command yourself to relax. That's breath 1. We're going to do 3 of these. Use the golden light meditation to relax the entire body as you continue to breathe naturally and rhythmically, loosening all the locks on the temple, right? The bodily temple, the bodily cave. Let that golden light from head to toe wash down over you with that first invigorating, relaxing breath. On the second breath, we're going to choose an eye fixation point, formulate our magical sigil, and then allow it to vibrate within the mind. So, at or about an arm's length in front of you, slightly above eye level, place your magical sigil. As you inhale a deep breath, empower it and increase its visual, vibratory, color texture, scintillation, even a scent if you like. And inhale. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Relax and close your eyes and concentrate on your magical sigil. Do this for a few moments, breathing naturally and rhythmically. All right, Wayfarer. On our third breath, we're going to withdraw from the astral light, return to the present awakened state. And so, after having sent your magical sigil out, you're just going to want to go on to the third step, which is the paucism phase. And so, relax and just let everything go and return to the present, breathing naturally and rhythmically. Inhale, hold for 3, 2, 1. Relax, waking up again, opening your eyes, returning to the present. Continue naturally, rhythmically breathing for a few moments. All right, Wayfarer, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that brief inductive process of relaxing the body, mind, and spirit, formulating a magical intent, commanding it into the form of a sigil, sending it out into the responsive nature of the cosmos, and then returning to center. I call this process, or I've identified this process from the magical teachings as volantia, decreeism, and paucism. So you might look a little deeper into that yourself. It's all about step one, deep inhale. The calm, unperturbed state of will is achieved in the first breath, and relaxation, golden light meditation can help you do that. Step two, the formulating and sending out and manifestation of a magical sigil in order to evoke a response, right? Commanding it into being, putting your all your energy into, or not all your energy, but filling it with energy and vitality and scintillating light. And then step three, sending it out and letting go, right? The paucism state. So a really simple process. I also call it the ask method of magic, right? Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. So the ask part is just to relax the body and dwell within the volantic state of the unperturbed magician's will. The seek and you shall find, the seeking is to reach out and create the sigil, the S part, right? And then the knock is just letting go and waiting for the echo, the response of the universe to bring you your intended, manifested magical state, event, thing, whatever, right? To bridge the gap, to make a connection, whatever it is you're up to, whatever your magic is. Hopefully, you're like me and you're engaged in the great work, which means conversation and communication with your holy guardian angel. So you might have a sigil for your angel or one of your angels, right? Your central angel, your celestial or infernal. It's up to you. There's a lot to kind of assimilate in the path that I've created, right? The one I'm laying out for people to study is the pathways of the Magi. And you can find out more about that through the 100-day challenges I do. I do 2 a year. They start at the equinox. So they're the challenges of the equinox, right? Spring equinox is usually a more physically based challenge from March 22nd, 100 days into the year, and then you retire from it as the dog days of summer start and the great uh, star of pestilence rises in the sky, and then you just chill and wait for the next 100-day challenge, which will begin September 22nd at the time of the autumn equinox, and that will be a more mental-based 100-day challenge. So there you have it there. That's the method I've devised for my own study and practice of magic. We've got another visitor to the ideas room, so welcome, Wayfarer. I hope you are doing well. It is Elir Influrege, also Rillian Promi. Not exactly sure what all that means. That's quite an interesting name, Wayfarer. I hope you're enjoying the transmission this morning and keep doing good magic. Yeah, so good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I can appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and go through the invocation of Tahuti real quick. I think I got to load it up, though, because, guys, I transmit on some of the free accounts like Restream or StreamYard. I'm using their free accounts, which do entail a bit of concomitants, right? You don't have the full access to the tool set. But I would like one day to take this show onto the paid version, right? And the only way we can get that magic done is if folks go over to buymeacoffee.com, pull something in the tip jar, and support the endeavor to do so. Because you know that you may know that it's quite expensive, in fact, to use even even the basic StreamYard account. And I always think about, with the internet, I'm already paying for mics and lights and a laptop and the electricity and the time to do it and the internet and all of those things that everyone else is paying for as well. But then I'm using my energy and effort to try to create a show for folks to come and enjoy. And why didn't that work? Okay, yeah, it's working. So I don't want to go too above and beyond and out of pocket in order to do all of those things. But as I do stream more and more each week, $50 a month for StreamYard, that's pretty steep, and that's what they're charging these days. Used to be like 20, now it's up to like 50. So yeah, I'm not gonna pull the trigger on that. I don't get that much value out of making content for YouTube that I'm gonna pay an extra $50 to do it. Not until this channel can gain maybe 1,000 subs and start to get some AdSense or something like that. Then it'll pay for itself, right? I always thought every hobby, you can invest a certain amount in it, but at some point it needs to pay for itself, So here we go, guys. Invocation of Thoth.
Invocation of Thoth. Procul, o procul esti profani, or lasti ompeda. In the name of the mighty and terrible one, I proclaim that I have banished the shells unto their habitations. I invoke Tahuti, the Lord of wisdom and of utterance, the God that cometh forth from the veil. O thou majesty of the Godhead, wisdom-crowned Tahuti, Lord of the gates of the universe, thee I invoke. O thou of the ibis head, thee I invoke. Thou who wieldest the wand of double power, thee I invoke. Thou who bearest in thy left hand the rose and cross of light and life, thee I invoke. Thou whose head is as an emerald, and thy nemesis as the night sky blue, thee I invoke. Thou whose skin is of flaming orange as though it burned in a furnace, thee I invoke. Behold, I am yesterday, today, and the brother of tomorrow. I am born again and again. Mine is the unseen force whereof the gods are sprung, which is as life unto the dwellers in the watchtowers of the universe. I am the charioteer of the east, lord of the past and of the future. I see by mine own inward light, Lord of resurrection, who cometh forth from the dusk, and my birth is from the house of death. O ye two divine hawks upon your pinnacles, who keep watch over the universe, ye who company the bier to the house of rest, who pilot the ship of wrong, ever advancing onwards the heights of heaven, Lord of the shrine which standeth in the center of the earth. Behold, he is in me, and I in him. Mine is the radiance wherein Ptah floateth over the firmament. I travel upon high. I tread upon the firmament of new. I raise up flashing flame with the lightning of mine eye, ever rushing on in the splendor of the daily glorified Ra, giving my life to the dwellers of earth. If I say, come up upon the mountains, the celestial waters shall flow at my word. For I am Ra incarnate, Kepha, created in the flesh. I am the eidolon of my father Tamu, lord of the city of the sun. The God who commands is in my mouth. The God of wisdom is in my heart. My tongue is the sanctuary of truth, and a guard sitteth upon my lips. My word is accomplished every day, and the desire of my heart realizes itself as that of Ptah when he createth his works. I am eternal, therefore all things are as my designs, therefore do all things obey my word. Therefore do thou come forth unto me from thine abode in the silence, unutterable wisdom, or light, or power. So, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, by whatever name I call thee, thou art still nameless to eternity. Come thou forth, I say, and aid and guard me in this work of art. Thou, star of the east, that didst conduct the Magi, thou art the same all present in heaven and in hell. Thou that vibratest between the light and the darkness, rising, descending, changing ever, yet ever the same. The sun is thy father, thy mother the moon. The wind hath borne thee in its bosom, and earth hath ever nourished the changeless godhead of thy youth. Come thou forth, I say, come thou forth, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God the vast one may be obedient unto me.
Yeah, my computer's lagging out really bad, guys. I try to do more than one task, and this laptop's getting a little bit low on CPU. It's not the laptop's fault. It's it's what all the bad guys are doing up to behind the scenes, right? Rummaging through my hard drives, using some of my internet bandwidth to mine Bitcoin or whatever else is going on behind the scenes. Because this is a top powered machine. Everything's been upgraded. RAM, everything's been maxed out and upgraded, and it's the top of the line for video processing. But it still just seems to bog down sometimes when I'm doing live streaming. And I think part of that reason, I mean, I know I'm not a dummy. I've done all kinds of different live streaming platforms for like the last 10 years since it started at some level. And they had it figured out. Like there was a Facebook app on your phone that would do everything really fast, real time, back it up to your hard drive on your phone and everything. And it worked perfect for like 6 weeks. And then they changed it. And they're like, oh, that was way too easy, convenient, and powerful for the average, everyday average individual to have, for free. And so as a result, and there's been other times too when I've experienced it's just flawless. And so it's about the Grimmelkins, the gremlins that get into the system. And if it was just that thing, if it was at face level what it was meant to be, right? If it was just the streaming tools and everything was set up just to do what it's supposed to do, rather than all these backdoor things that are happening behind the scenes, like data gathering, data processing, very, very close monitoring and all of that, then it would work perfect every time. And there's no reason why it doesn't have to, except for the fact that corporate entities are here to suck the blood out of us, right? And to suck the jelly out of our donut so that we're left with just dry bread, a jellyless fucking donut. Dr. D Heads here. Welcome to the chat, man. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Valiant. I don't know what that word is, but that's not the word I said. I'll go ahead and type it out for you. And you can find it in a few documents online. I discovered it by accident one day. I don't remember the reference exactly right now off the top of my head, but it's basically a 3-step process of volantia. Second step is decreeism, and third step is pauseism. Yeah, and so I think if you search those 3 terms together with adding like magic with a K to it, then you'll find the document. It was an academic paper in an academic journal online, maybe academia.com or something. I don't remember exactly. And it's probably somewhere here on my laptop because I used it as a source material to start making connections in magic. And I realized immediately that Volantia is Lian Jing, and then decreeism is Lian Qi, and then pauseism is Lian Shen. So we have Lian Jing Hua Qi, Lian Qi Hua Shen, Lian Shen Hua Wu Jing. Now that in Chinese probably doesn't mean anything to you, Wayfarer. But if you want to get a little more initiated into Chinese Tao, remember I'm looking at the Western mystery traditions or Hermetic science through the lens of Taoist Qigong and Taoist cosmology. So I'm doing the add element. Like during 100 years ago, they added Hinduism and Buddhism to the equation of the mystery traditions to try to expand it a little more. Now, my great work that I've been endeavoring to do for the last 30 years is to understand the Hermetic sciences enough so that I can add the attributes of Taoism to the terminology base, so that I can make the connection between the things said in magic with the things said in Tao. And so that's what I'm endeavoring to do. So you may not understand it, so ask a question rather than make an assumption is always a better bet. I believe I'm here for a spirit of fellowship and cooperation, and I like to learn too. But valiant is primarily an adjective meaning brave or courageous. It does not have a past participle form because it is not a verb. And that's from the Dumb Plumber. So yeah, you should probably trust a plumber over a doctorate philosopher any day of the week, right? Dumb plumbers typically know their way around a pipe pretty good. I'm not familiar with the Dumb Plumber. I should probably check it out. I don't know. It sounds like it's probably a satirical website or something. But yeah, good fun. So yeah, not Valantia, but Volantia. Cool, thank you. I love words, but apparently not as much as you. No, you. I don't doubt that at all. I'm a I did a few elective classes in linguistics, and I like to think of myself as a bit of a linguist, but I'm definitely a beginner, man. The canon of knowledge and understanding. I've studied Latin and Greek and roots and all of that, and the way prefixes and suffixes interact with the root. And yeah, I've been a student of English since I was a little boy. I majored in it at university, at least literature. And I've been studying. I found that when I came to China and I started teaching English to other people, I had to study it even deeper. Like my knowledge of it was superficial, even with a master's degree in English. My knowledge and being able to apply that as a teacher was very superficial. And so like when my children were born, I bought myself an entire library of collegiate texts on things like child psychology, psychology of education, application of education, and tons of books on teaching, probably 30 of them from the used bookstore at the university here. And I put myself through each one of them as like an elective course style of study. Preview the book, look through it, dig into the lessons that seemed applicable to my own learning. And I did that for like probably the last 15 years. In fact, it was only probably less than a decade ago that I kind of stopped doing that and felt like, hey, I don't need to spend as much time on researching educational methodology anymore. And I just need to start putting it more into practice and try to reintegrate my studies and put my free time into myself again. But yeah, I put all of my free time into study of the Chinese language, and then having an ability to teach English using the Chinese language. And then over the last few years, I've been trying to learn other languages via Chinese. So I picked up books on learning German, but they're all written in Chinese because now I can read and write Chinese fluently. So I use Chinese to teach myself German, French. I've even been looking into Hebrew more and more in recent days. And the Chinese have a very unique perspective on teaching languages. I don't think it's any better or worse than our own, but some of our researchers from even 100 years ago came up um, with really really effective methods. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Pimsleur method, but that's one of the best ones I've ever found. I think it's better than the Rosetta Stone. And if you're endeavoring to learn a new language, at least at the conversational level, I think Pimsleur would be the place to start. Oh, no, I didn't think that you did, Dr. D Head. I didn't think that you were being antagonistic at all. And even if you were pointing out somewhere where I was mistaken, because I've tried to look up the root and understanding of Volantia, and I think that the word is a bastardization. And my first indication would be that it's related to volition. And I couldn't find an exact source. It doesn't seem like the person who quoted it. It may be original Latin, and so I may be missing something. And so I appreciate you bringing that forward. I was just trying to point out that I don't think it's connected to the word that you posted, and I'm unsure of its linguistic descent. Like it's what is that called? Etymology. I'm unsure of the etymology of Valantia, and some things it's like learning about electricity. You don't have to know the entire historic record of electricity in order to be able to use it. And so if I just grok something immediately and I think I'm pretty close to the truth, like with Valantia, I'm thinking it's somehow volantic or based on the volition because it connects because he defined it in his own terms and he may have created it. So, like I say, it might be a bastardization. And then decree is decretic or to decree, right? Decreeism. And then possism, I originally thought was to possess. So I thought that its root would be possession, but it's not. It's something else and I've forgotten. But it didn't matter because I made my associations and encoded them through the academic paper that I read with his definitions, but then I just started adding my own associations and correspondences. And right, like so for example, I don't look at it as exclusively as Volantia, decreeism, and Possism. I look at it as Jing, Qi, and Shen, because I've already established a firm foundation of what are those called? Memory castles or mind maps that I have associated with my own great work. So when I do finally publish my magnum opus, right, like probably an introductory workbook into my specific school of magic that I'm developing with, like I said, Chinese Qigong and internal alchemy and meditation, and then that done couched in the language of the Western mystery traditions, then I'll make that very clear in the glossary what I'm talking about. And I've been documenting my endeavors, and hopefully one day I'll have that document ready for you guys, and it'll be serviceable enough that it'll actually gain some attention in the realm, or at least be useful to those people who endeavor to follow a similar path. Anyway, yeah, good magic, good looking out, and I appreciate you stopping by, Dr. D Head. I know that you're a good guy, man. I had some interactions with you over there on the old in Talcadia, right? And fun stuff, man. To get on to that point, and a little bit of gossip and intrigue, right? Breakfast Tacos really lampooned me. I don't know if you guys saw the interview or not, but it turned from an interview to an interrogation to an intervention. And so I think I am completely correct and accurate in stating that they moved the goalposts once I got there. He invited me over there under false pretenses, and I didn't rage quit. He says that I rage quit, but I didn't. As soon as they started moving the goalposts and their intention had changed, or they changed the entire definition of what it meant for me to be there, right? Then I was done with it. I don't have time. I'm not going to waste time with someone when they're disingenuous and set up something under false pretenses and then attempt to lampoon you. And I'm like, well, that's not why I fucking came here. That's not why you invited me here. Yeah, you have to understand the nature of an interview. It was no longer an interview. Like if in an interview you ask me a question and I give tons of overt indications that I'm not really comfortable talking about that question, or I don't want to go into that direction. You persisted in that line of inquiry for an hour, right? Nearly an hour. That means it was not a line of inquiry. It was an interrogative tactic, right? And that's just at face level absolute horseshit. So he can go fucking suck a dick. Fuck him. Fuck his show. And I'll never appear on it again. And I would never recommend it for anyone else, because to start with, they're starting from a very base nature of clearly identifying, like, trapping themselves in itty bitty little boxes, primarily two boxes, right? Atheist and what they called naturalist, but I don't even believe that they had any, they can't aspire to be naturalists. I don't even think they have enough talent or understanding to aspire to be atheists. I don't know that anyone over there had any form of degree, not even a bachelor's degree, let alone a master's or a doctorate, right? So to be in the same room with them and then to be under all those false pretenses and untrained, like, I don't know, when you get involved with people like that who really don't understand the language of the fields within which they're trying to inquire, then they really don't have the tools at the base level to even have that conversation. And so once the conversation starts deviating into all these rabbit holes, it's like, well, uh, I, for one, I don't have a degree in theology, and that way in that respect, I don't usually pontificate on it, right? But I do have certified degrees in things like the study of magic, right, at various levels. In fact, from three different well-recognized brotherhoods, right? The Golden Dawn, Thelema, and the Temple of Astarte. And then I have also a associate's level understanding and degree in traditional Chinese medicine. I have a master's level understanding in Taoism. I have a master's degree from university in Western literature, and I have a degree in Chinese, right? So I have lots of things. Plus, I've worked on a doctorate, but I haven't. 30 years later, I've yet to finish it, and I may or may not ever finish it because I just kind of got tired of giving money to the university after being at university for 12 years, you kind of get tired of just giving them money every year in order for them to continue to validate your existence. And so when presented with the idea, have you been before such and such to validate your existence? It's like, who the fuck do you think I am that I need any of your advice when I've taken the advice of elite scholars and practitioners and genuine master magicians, when I'm here on a panel with some internet tourist that's trying to give me their fucking opinion? Oh my God, what a fucking absolute crock of shit. And yeah, so enough said. I've said my piece on that. And yeah, take care. Good to see you, Dominique. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on your way out. Blessings to you. Good man. Yeah, so I got lampooned on that situation. So I have no compunction in lampooning them just as much in return. And as you know, I'm very tolerant and I seldom endeavor to do that against anyone. But once attacked and once the righteous fury comes out, there's little you can do to recover from that. Like I've even, I'll tolerate someone I'm invested in, but I'm not going to tolerate someone I'm not invested in. So yeah, sad. All I can say is sad. Yeah. You don't need to announce it. This isn't an airport, so you don't need to announce arrivals and departures, Dominique. But have a great day, man. With that said, let's.
So we talk
Here's the
about the
reiteration of the
lies
channel
of the
you should
machine
watch, since I've told
on
you
the
one you
machine that
should not
lies.
watch.
Basically, on the stream, the machine lies. We're taking a very critical look at technology. So the reason we're doing that is because we're looking at the medium that is used to communicate, right, and transmit information, right? We don't think that any form of mediation is neutral, right, but it's laden with values. And so I think that the well has been polluted by technology. So obviously we take a critical look at technology, right? Okay, we're looking at different concepts in relation to technology, right? In terms of philosophy, right? And in terms of religion. Now, that is one of the main purposes of the show, is that we really look at where technology and religion, science, and spirituality, where those things intersect, right? Because there's a crisis of the modern world in which there's a majority of the modern world is religious people. Their mindset is secular, and the means they employ are secular. We're living in a post-liberal, post-human, post-geological age, right? So we're talking about the death of liberalism, the rise of the world technological system. Now, we do think that, okay, there's a considerable level of externalization of the ego, okay, and mediation of ourselves through the means we employ. So obviously, we shape tools, but the tools we use shape us, right? So that's one of the main things we're trying to get across on the show, is how technology changes human psychology. If you question the means you employ and what the objective factors of power are in our age, right, then that's the most important question you can ask, right? That's the most critical stance you could actually take, right? Like, most people don't question, how or what means they use to question, to ask the question itself, right? So we're actually taking a critical look at technology, right, as a primary form of communication, as an objective factor of power in our age, right? And we think that basically we're assuming that a lot of the stuff that we see through this medium is totally made up, right? Fabricated. And that is based on the fact that it is artifice. It's produced by a machine, right? So we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies.
Yeah, yeah, that's good magic. I really love that. Yeah, TML knows what he's doing, man. And so he presents some stimulating and interesting points for discussion, right? Like, we shape tools, but the tools we use shape us. Yeah. So I would ask you, dear Wayfarer, listener, what tools are you using in order to shape your understanding, right? And if I direct that question back at myself, and guys, don't forget, keep in mind, this is an open panel. If at any time any of you guys want to jump up here and hash it out with me, talk shop with Frank Monday, as it were, there's the link. I'll go ahead and drop it, even though, yeah. So there it is there. Let me get back into it. I was trying to cut up and process a video that I wanted to look over that's going to introduce a couple of ideas, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show. Um, a Gnostic view of Jesus as a trickster god. And I think that's interesting. I'm not very much into Gnosticism or not Gnosis. Gnosis, I'm definitely into, but the Gnostic view, I don't really understand it that much. I haven't spent much time investigating it because at face level, a lot of it seemed backwards to me. And from my understanding of Chinese esoteric Tao, right? And so that's where my foundation begins, and all roads lead to Rome, in my opinion. And Tao is the low ground. And so if it doesn't easily like just blend back into Tao, then it doesn't abide by natural law, and it deviates too far into the realm of the conceptual, and then that starts to really become just a miasma of human opinion. Now, I'm not discounting spiritual endeavor at all. There is certainly great work that has been done to bring forward a huge body of understanding of the spiritual realm. But I think most of that the individual practitioner should do on their own. And you might ask, well, how are you going to do that? Well, you need to learn about the subtle energies within the body, start to refine them through internal alchemy and meditation and application, right? Actualizing it. You need to be able to get a direct response, such as thunder in the sky, drawing down lightning, parting the clouds, um, predicting the future, various forms of spiritual gifts and powers that can give you verifiable results consistently, and then you can move forward to starting to study some of the ancient teachings with an open mind, because now you're awakened. You've been within the celestial realm, right? You've learned to astral travel and do all of the aforementioned things, and you have some awakening, some power, some breakthrough, some what we call initiation into the mysteries. And if not, then you're just pontificating like a layman at the side of the road, right? The supervisor, the guy that's always going to tell you how to get it done but hasn't done it themselves yet. And that's not who I work with here. I work with master craftsmen like TML and enough of the great work that they've had an awakening and have something of value to contribute to the spiritual tradition. All right, there's a lot of internet gurus out there that haven't done much, and like to talk a lot. They like to talk a lot, but haven't done much. And so that's the way it works. Oh, we've got another comment by Dr. D Head that I missed. He said, I'll watch that all the way through. It seemed to be obvious and deliberate douchebaggery with Clockwork Orange style Fat Man Eyeball Torment, minions of scientism. Yeah, it's not even worth watching. I wouldn't rewatch it. In fact, I didn't even go back and rewatch it. They didn't allow me to articulate fully any single point, right? I was always cut off midpoint, and typically right at midpoint. So they didn't let me bring a single idea to fruition, um, which is just mean spirited, right? They brought people up on the board, like one, like meth head witch, ex witch, right? She's like, I've been converted. I'm now over here on the atheism ticket, and I've had experience with magic, blah, blah, blah. And it's obviously like a retired, middle aged meth head woman that hasn't never achieved any results with magic. And it's like, why would you bring forward a so-called magical practitioner that's never even been able to actualize magic as a reference point? Bring forward another magician like Twilight or something, son of Lilith, who's actually done magic and understands it to a certain extent. Yeah. But again, it wasn't supposed to be that. It wasn't supposed to be a debate of the ideas. It was presented to me as an interview. And once you've totally changed the endeavor of the thing, like if you would have told me, for example, hey, come over here for a debate of atheism versus, I don't know, mysticism or whatever, then I would have prepared some key points and come over prepared for a debate. But that's not what they invited me over there for. They invited me over there for, a pleasant interview is what they presented it as. And then, like I said, it turned into an interrogation, and then it turned into a so-called we need to have an intervention with you. And like you said, you give a really good definition of it here. An obvious and deliberate douchebaggery with Clockwork Orange style Fat Man eyeball torment. Minions of Team Evil. Yeah, they were definitely working for the low lying fruit, man, just wallowing in the sewage of the world. Fucking ghost realm beings, hungry ghosts with their gaping mouths and huge, disgusting, fat bodies, right? Just wallowing in filth and putricity, right? Oh my God, what a fucking nightmare to be among those beings and try to talk about high enlightened things when here I am, a neophyte in all respects, as always, a humble seeker of the light and trying to find other seekers of the light. And then you find yourself in just a fucking rat's nest of what? I don't even know. Yeah, I'm done with it. A rat's nest of a septic tank, right? In the dankest, just gnarliest bogs of the prime material plane. Oh, what a nightmare. Everything smelled like urine. There was feces all over the walls. I mean, imagine the way that individual's living, that so-called breakfast tacos. I mean, God, look at the way he presents himself, even through AI. Neck beard, fedora, like, what a fucking disgusting thing, man. What a foul beast of a creature. Anyway, I'm just rambling here, guys, because I'm trying to let this video load a little bit. I wanted to play the video before I got into reading, because it takes me time to get my voice warmed up a little bit. Got to have a couple of cups of the old black magic. I got one brewing right now. I just cleaned the filter on my pour over, but it keeps saying that, like, I'm trying to compress a 200 megabyte video clip, like 9 minutes long. And as soon as I swiped away from the page that I had open doing the processing, it went to like 3 hours. And so I jumped back over thinking it was probably finished, and it was like 10% done. And so I think the CPU just put it in the background and stopped focusing on it. And so I swiped back over to it, and now it's faster. Now it says it'll be like 8 minutes before it can process it, which is just garbage. I mean, that means to me that's very clear that something else is using my CPU, which I don't have much open and much loaded into the RAM right now. I've got StreamYard open. I've got one other PDF document. And so there's no reason why my computer should be lagging so far behind. But yeah, it is what it is. So if you guys haven't checked out TML, his channel name is The Machine That Lies. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this 2-minute deal so I can finish working on my pour over for a minute, guys. Give me just a minute, if you would.
So we talk about the lies of the machine on The Machine That Lies. Basically, on the stream, The Machine Lies, we're taking a very critical look at technology. So the reason we're doing that is because we're looking at the medium that is used to communicate, right, and transmit information, right? We don't think that any form of mediation is neutral, right, but it's laden with values. And so I think that the well has been polluted by technology. So obviously we take a critical look at technology, right? We're looking at different concepts in relation to technology, right? In terms of philosophy, right? And in terms of religion. Now, that is one of the main purposes of the show, is that we really look at where technology and religion, science, and spirituality, where those things intersect, right? Because there's a crisis of the modern world in which there's a majority of the modern world is religious people. Their mindset is secular, and the means they employ are secular. We're living in a post-liberal, post-human, post-geological age, right? So we're talking about the death of liberalism, the rise of the world technological system. Now, we do think that, there's a considerable level of externalization of the ego, and mediation of ourselves through the means we employ. So obviously, we shape tools, but the tools we use shape us, right? So that's one of the main things we're trying to get across on the show, is how technology changes human psychology. If you question the means you employ and what the objective factors of power are in our age, right, then that's the most important question you can ask. right? That's the most critical stance you could actually take, right? Like most people don't question, you know, how or what means they use to question, to ask the question itself, right? So we're actually taking a critical look at technology, right, as a primary form of communication, as an objective factor of power in our age, right? And we think that basically we're assuming that a lot of the stuff that we see through this medium is totally made up, right? Fabricated. And that is based on the fact that it is artifice. It's produced by a machine, right? So we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine.
Yeah, that's right. We talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. I really like that a lot, man. It's good magic. Yeah, the machine does lie. Welcome, Dr. Bassackor. It's good to see you again, amigo. I was just reviewing a little bit about my interview with Breakfast Tacos, and one thing that I want to point out here with TML is that he articulated right there in the beginning that technology has polluted the well, so to speak. And so in a situation like I was in, where the guy is, all of his thumbnails are generated by AI, he doesn't have any like actual physical pictures of himself on his channel, and you're interacting just with like this voice. It may be entirely AI. There's no guarantee that a channel like Breakfast Tacos is even a living human being. And so when you're up against the machine, and you know, they have things like, they don't have a knowledge base, they don't have an experiential evidence base, all they have is a technology base, right? And so when you're interacting with a large language model, you're always already going to be at a distinct disadvantage. Whereas imagine if two people went into a room to have a head-to-head debate, right, with a moderator, and all you were allowed to bring with you were your notes and your own understanding. Then you would have an actual mano-y-mano situation, right? Then it would be man-to-man. But these guys sit behind their screens, and they use, you know, Grok and other forms of AI to ask and answer the questions for them, and then they just regurgitate what the screen is showing them, right? Whereas a guy like me, I'm sitting behind my screen, but I'm not doing any of that. I'm basing everything on memory, experiential evidence, intuition, logic, and reason, right? I'm not using these models to think for me. So I'm still a living human being, and I've proven that. I've proven that with my video documentation of my life, with doing food reviews. I show my face on camera all the time. I do my magic on camera sometimes. I show that I've got a fairly good, physically fit body, right? Like, we've got a visitor in the hell realm right now that is obviously like one of the most demonic type of entities you can come across. He's like a 6'2" or something dude that weighs like 400 plus pounds and just lays in his mother's basement eating Doritos and pontificating. You know, you can just imagine his big, huge, fat body with the mic kind of propped up against the pillow, and ichor just dripping everywhere down his giant, loathsome belly. And he hasn't, you know, his mom hasn't even come down and hosed him off in like a week or two, right? And so he's basically just shitting all over himself. And so as a result, he's in a hell realm. And that's all he can present to the internet. He can't bring any value. He can't add any value to what we've got going on here. He can't add any articulation as to like the spiritual pathway. He's never shown him, very rarely has he shown himself on camera. When you see him on camera, you can see that, oh my God, that's a dark, fucking demonic individual that's right on the edge of death, right? And he's probably so close to the edge of death now that that's why he's lashing out to try to attack others, right? Like you can see the comments here, right, in the ideas room. They're all just low level ad hominems. Hasn't done any research into the endeavors we've got going on here. Um, hasn't got anything of value to say, right? Launches straight in with invicatives, I forget that word, explicitives, and there is a word that starts with in that means this top of like ad hominem assault. Um, thank you for that, Dr. D. Yeah, and so I got to speak from the heart, you know, and all I can offer is my own experiential evidence, and then maybe, you know, we can direct each other to better information in the long run, right? Like I could show you I can cite all of the sources from where I get my understanding, and so on and so on ad nauseum, right? But I would identify maybe a collection of 15 books as core fundamentals, and I've read some of those books dozens of times. Some of them I've read hundreds of times. Yeah. And so I think that study and testing things in the world is super important. I mean, a good God, obviously you just can't sit back and try to have everyone else feed you their opinion. Otherwise you just live your entire life based on hearsay. And what good is that? You got to get out there and do the great work yourself, you know, get involved with the world, do whatever you think needs to be done in order to get that done. You know, at different stages in life, you'll be doing different things. You'll have had different results. And I'm here to fellowship and hear about your guys' story as well. You know, I don't fucking talk about myself all the time. That would be absolute horseshit. That's one of the things that's starting to irritate me about Jack Talcott a little bit. He will certainly pick and choose the people that he allows to pontificate ad nauseum, but then others will be immediately shut down, no matter how pure and just and sincere their cause is. Right? Um, as long as it benefits his numbers in the long run, he'll let it play out. And at the same time, I can see that he's starting to appeal to a very low level audience, and it seems that's the kind of the thing he's interested in doing. Like he's just kind of swimming around in the sewers trying to pick up sewer rats and get them on board. And I don't know why that would be, because it contradicts his overall message, which is starting to lead me to believe that he might be genuinely insane. And I think he's admitted that openly, and he says the world is insane and therefore we're all insane, right? And so it's almost like a hell realm too. You know, these guys that think they're living in a hell realm and think there's no salvation. I don't necessarily get it, but yeah, Jack pissed me off a little bit the other day. I thought that I should have been at least, like, he could have started to moderate it and spend 5 to 10 minutes doing it, but he just gave up and shut down the show at the hour mark and basically shit all over me, which is okay. It's not a big deal there, right? Like he pointed out a couple of things like, yeah, you were getting in your ego, you know, and you were letting that interfere with it being about me. And as long as it's, you know, if it's only about me, then we're okay. But as soon as it starts to become about you guys, then that's it. I got to shut it down, you know? And it's like, is that what you're doing as a spiritual guru? Really? Just shutting people down and truncating their ideas and not bringing about resolution? He could have brought about resolution really easy in that. He could have just said, okay, breakfast tacos, you talk for a minute. Okay, now shut up. Frank Monday, you talk for a minute. Okay, now shut up. And I'll talk for a minute, right? Okay, now I'll shut up. And then breakfast tacos, you get one rebuttal, right? Make it a good one. You get 2 minutes. And Frank Monday, you get one rebuttal. Or either way, right? Let me rebuttal first and then let him rebuttal. And then say, okay, now you guys, you two motherfuckers, drop it. I'm going to give my rebuttal for 2 minutes and then we'll move on. And it would have been fucking water under the bridge, right? But instead of seizing that golden opportunity, he's like, yeah, well, you know, I need to go smoke a bong rip or something, and just fucking gave up. Yeah, he fucked up in my opinion. I think he's conflicted. Yeah, conflicted, convoluted, and a little bit slipshod in kind of passing up a golden opportunity like that to bring about some resolution between an atheist and a spiritualist, right? And here's the funny thing too: these young men, they're like, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, or something. Like Breakfast Taco, maybe, you know, maybe he's mid 30s, I would say he's early 30s. That would be my guess. Um, they don't have any life experience per se, and they haven't done anything except for really sit in front of the internet for the last, you know, 20 years. And they were probably raised by parents who didn't give any kind of fucks about them anyway, you know, and didn't even have the forethought to put them out in the yard to battle it out, rather than just to tie them up in their basement for their entire lives. So he's got real incel energy, right? And that needs to be clearly articulated and identified. And I saw the same guy up there on platform again the very next day, bringing in a troll and says, I'm here to intentionally troll you. And old Mr. Talcott, he let it play out for, like, I don't know, um an hour probably or better, and chose to moderate that and play with that guy and give that guy all kinds of opportunities. He mod godded him a little bit too. And then today, once again, the same thing. The usual suspects up there again, entertaining the same ideas. And Jack's mostly dealt fairly with me when I come up on his panel. But yeah, it kind of took the jelly out of my donut a little bit because I thought I had established some credibility with him, but it turns out I hadn't established much. We had a good conversation like after we went off the air, and I thought that might have been part of it. I thought he might have been wanting to have a conversation with me off air rather than on air, and so there was some spiritual growth there, and I do value that, Jack. If you are listening, I do value you, and I'm not going to lampoon you too much. And if you are listening today, it does look like there's 5 to 10 people tuning in. You can never know if YouTube's telling you accurate numbers or not. But yeah, if you're out there and you're willing to talk about it, man, I always welcome the opportunity. But for me, once again, I wanted to address it a little bit on my own channel, and now it's water under the bridge. I've forgotten about it. I've moved on in life. I know Breakfast Tacos, he cut up the video and made it into like, I'm sure he cut some of the like angles out. He edited, basically edited the video and re-uploaded it and said that I rage quit. But no, I didn't rage quit. They moved the goalposts so far in a different direction that I gave up. I didn't have any more time to waste. I figured an hour and an hour and a half was good enough for an interview anyway. But then when it turned from an interview into an interrogation, into an intervention by untrained individuals, then yeah, it just turned into shit. Mr. Rogers, Dr. D Head, yeah. I thought I tried to put this motherfucker in a timeout, but it looks like he's still able to run his ichor-filled, slovenly mouth. It says block user on YouTube. I don't want to do that because I don't like to block people, but it says that I can put him in timeout. So let me see how that works. Yeah, I wouldn't even interact with that troll. I allow his horse shit to continue just to show that I'm a bigger man than that. And so he asked if I had watched any of his Esoterica series. And the truth is, I have watched a little bit of Queen Stephanie, de facto leader of Team Evil, that famous Transylvanian transvestite from the troughs of Sewerland. I've watched a few of his videos, and I thought it was all right. I thought his Esoterica series wasn't too bad, but his overarching pessimism and like negativity are too strong for me to tolerate. Like at the level that it's like, do I always want to just look at the filth in life, or do I want to just kind of let the filth deal with the filth, and I'll climb the mountain where there are pristine lakes and subtle starry energies, and there are actual like immortal luminous beings that dwell and have a place where you can go and study called the Invisible College. And so would I rather spend my time hanging out in the Invisible College with like-minded individuals who are striving towards the light, or would I like to wallow down in the sewers with Queen Stephanie, in a dirty diaper and screaming about how dirty the diaper is? And it's like, well, fuck, just get up off your ass and change your diaper, get a shower, and start walking the mountain with me, and you'll see that there's more to life than this so-called hell realm you live in, right? And so, yeah, that's funny. Good magic, man. Good looking out. I appreciate you being there, Dr. D, and I appreciate you the added insight that you bring, because you've questioned me a couple of times on like my understanding, I believe, like in various chat rooms and shit, and I pay attention. I know when I make a mistake, and I do. Nobody's perfect. I mean, maybe Jesus was perfect, they say, but that's okay as well. Soccer, they were maybe the only two perfect beings that ever achieved ascendancy here in this prime material plane. I think I got this video finally loaded, guys, so I'll be able to play a little bit of it and chime in from time to time and drink a little coffee, man, because I've been wanting to do that. I didn't want to pontificate that long. Monologues should never go more than 5 to 10 minutes, and that monologue just went like fucking 20 minutes. So thank you for enduring that rant, guys. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm willing. I'm eager to move on. The only reason I even started talking about it was because I didn't have any content set up for that section, and I wanted to process it in the background. And it looks like it probably, how long it takes for me to upload a 190 megabyte video to this platform. Oh, it's going fast, looking good, delicious. All right, I got the 100% Arabica. Is that what it's called? Arabica. Let me check out the bag here. 100% Arabica, Colombian coffee, rich and smooth, medium dark roast. Good stuff. Let's get that video uploaded, and then we can take a short break. Hold on for just a second. What the fuck do you want me to do? Make you breakfast? Seriously? Yeah, it looks like it. You don't have any intent to fucking take a little nap? You really.
What?
You need to do what you're supposed to do, Am. Sorry, guys. I had a little baby bunny hopping in here and uh, disrupting her father's good work. But that's okay. That's good magic too. You know, you have to attend to those things. I would tell you the back story, but it's irrelevant. But it is. Oh my God, what happened there? You don't want that, do you? Yes or no?
No.
No. Maybe Dre will eat it. I'll throw it in there anyway. Yeah, this will take about I don't know, 10 minutes or something. I'll do it. It's fine. It'll heat up. It'll take time though. Good magic. Yeah, yeah. So little bunnies, you know, they get hungry and they don't know how to cook or feed themselves, and so as a father figure, that's something you got to do. But she's breaking the rules. She's been breaking all kinds of rules all night long, and yeah, she knows the scoop. I can't wait to get back in my studio again because yeah, I'm sitting here in the kitchen, guys, in my fucking underwear, and it's not the place to be. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? You just got to do what you got to do. Oh God, now she left. Hold, give me a second, guys. Give me just a second. Give me a second. And to address Queen Stephanie for just a moment, Stephanie, I'm not censoring you. I'm just I'm letting your comments stay for a valid amount of time, and then I'm deleting them from my chat. I've read them. You've said what you're going to say. Nobody's censoring you. I can see you banging your rattle there in your crib. You know, you're laying in your dirty diaper and you want to be heard. You're like, oh, look at me. I'm a little baby. I do things too. I've got an entire channel, guys. Why don't people come over there and talk to me? Right? So go fuck yourself. I mean, you've shown me nothing but disrespect and fucking foulness. And so why would I let your comments stay? I've read them. I've been letting you. I haven't blocked you, right? I could. It says here my choices are block user on YouTube or put user in timeout on YouTube. And I would like to just block you, but I'm not going to do that because, you know, I don't think anyone should necessarily be blocked. You know, I'm not going to give you other chances to shit in my living room again. But there's no reason why, after having read your comments, I shouldn't just um, delete them off my live stream. There's no reason I need to let your fucking record stand and allow your comments to add to block and restream chat. Okay, yeah, maybe I can do that. There we go. So I think I've hit the correct button that will, at least it won't keep showing me his inane comments, because there's no reason why I should take time to read his fucking comments when I know exactly who he is. You know, he's like this big overgrown baby that hasn't had his diaper changed, and it's not my responsibility to go and fucking change his diaper. You know, I can hear him banging his rattle, and it's like, good God, that's not even my kid. Who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from? Yeah, that's right. That's interesting. Did the Christ say, "Let the dead bury the dead"? I remember that. Um, Master Nihua Ching of Universal Society of the Intergoya, a guy I studied with for like 20 years, and I worked for him as his apprentice and secretary for 2 years straight. I lived with the fucking guy, Master Nihua Ching. You can check him out. So that shows the caliber of the people that I like to hang out with. He used to say this, and because my father had died recently, and he said, hey Frank, you know, maybe you ought to think about letting the dead bury the dead and move on. There's a certain period of grieving you definitely need to take when a close family member, you know, like a father or mother or brother or sister or something, passes away, but you can't stay in that headspace forever. You eventually have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and you know that's been laid out by people smarter than me, you know, wiser than me. How long should you grieve? And it depends on your amount of involvement in the relationship. Like you lose a hardcore love or something, like a girlfriend or something, and I don't know, 6 months. The first couple of times I lost a girl that I was genuinely in love with, it took me about 6 months of grieving. And then with like my dad, it took me a couple of years to come to terms with it. And then it started to present itself as this looming dark malignant thing that I might even spend more time in, you know, more than 2 years coming to terms with and grieving. But yeah, I spent another maybe 3 or 4 months grieving at that point, and then let go of it and moved on and got involved with the great work. When my mom passed, that was probably the hardest one for me. And it took me about a year to grieve through that. Actually, less time than my father, but then at that point, I'd already grieved the loss of like 6 different people, maybe seven. And so I had grown accustomed to it. And I don't think growing too accustomed to death is something you want to get on into, and keep building relationships. And you know, the current moves on. Like on Jack Talcott the other day, a simple question was asked: what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of life? And he couldn't give a clear answer. And I thought, wow, Jack, you just failed as an internet guru. You really, really kind of failed. Like he kind of tried to redirect it back to his original message. But if you were to present that same question to me, I'd have some pretty easy answers for it that make sense to most people. But like to just waffle and find yourself in like I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it at this point, but to find yourself like in an enigmatic situation where you're baffled, and even answering a very simple spiritual question like that, it kind of he lost some credit in my eyes, man, big time. And I think the more I watch him, the more he's going to lose credit, because I don't know if he's actually done the work. Like he's done some mental work, but I don't know if he's done enough of the physical attributes that are really required of ritual and ceremony in order to be considered an awakened individual. I think he's kind of there at the edge. He's at the gate, but he hasn't passed through the gate. Like he admits of himself, he's never had any type of supernatural or paranormal experience, and other than drugs, right? So people who get their enlightenment through drugs, I don't know, drugs and alcohol, I don't know if those are the right people that we should be consulting about this path of spirituality. Like most of my biggest breakthroughs and paranormal encounters, everything was dead sober, and it was from like times of great sobriety. Like I went 13 years without a single drink of alcohol, and remember what you're dealing with. Jack is a postman, not an academic. I can't even read that word. Academician. Yeah, he's not a member of the academia. Academian. Okay, academian. Wow, I didn't even know there was that form of that word. Yeah, so there you go, proven once again, Dr. D, that your linguistic aptitude maybe even superior to my own. And I like to think that other people know other things that you're lacking in your character. And so it's not like you're going to someone for all the answers. You've got a lot of the answers yourself. But the reason we interact with each other is to learn a little more, right? And it always should be done, I think, in the spirit of, hey, that's one to grow on. Academian. There you go. I think I got the pronunciation mastered of that form. Yeah, the academy. So yeah, I work in academia, right? At an academy, and I'm an academian. Nice. Yeah, an academian, a philosopher, a scholar, a member of the intelligentsia. Yeah, because I actually am guiding a much larger concourse of energy than any of these fools out there. You guys don't know this, but I've had a lot of appearances in Chinese television, and some of the programs I've been on have reached out to 700 million people. And my brother, he even came over here to visit me in Beijing one time, and I took him to meet some of the TV producers and like stars in television that I work with routinely. And he's like, do you even fucking realize who we're like? We had dinner with one of my friends one time, and he looked at me and he's like, hey, little brother, he's like, do you even fucking realize who we're sitting with right now? And I'm like, yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's a really good guy. And he's like, no, he said, this is a man that speaks to 700 million people for 2 hours, 5 nights a week, because he's a newscaster, right? He works in television, and his television program is the most preeminent news program on Chinese television. And I reflected on that and I thought about that. And he's like, you're involved with the highest level of Chinese society. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am, you know? And I never really thought of that as a big deal because I met the guy through my English work, right? And he was a student in one of my classes and he liked me a lot. And so we became fast friends. And I never even contemplated or reflected on like his career or his position in society. And because that would seem like filled with guile and like seeking advantage or something. I just thought, hey, he's a good guy. I'm a good guy. We like to hang out and have dinner a couple of times a year. And we're both raising kids. And that's enough. You know what I mean? And so it took me having to do some reflection to think, hey, Frank, remember, you are like a catalyst in Chinese society for the spirit of 1776. And every time you speak openly and use your sincerity and genuineness, whether you be on television or doing something else, you are doing the great work. And that current is reaching one of the largest masses of people on the planet, right? If not the largest mass of people on the planet. Yeah, so kind of a weird thing. But when you start to think of it that way, it's just way too much pressure. Like I'm glad that I've always approached it the way that I approach it, where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on Chinese TV, just do your thing, get up there and shake your ass, no big deal, doesn't really matter, right? And I think that's a much easier going perspective for the human being because I'm just gonna do the work and let go of it anyways. You know, I'm not looking to get big money or get paid or anything. And I've been paid quite a bit on some of the programs I participated in. But like to think of it in an opportunistic way, it hurts the individual, right? Like every time you get involved in thinking about the finances and opportunistic calculations rather than like your honesty and your sincerity, then you start to suffer. Like anxiety levels go through the roof. A really easy Zen koan illustrates this quite perfectly. They say that the archer, there was a wonderful archer in a village, and he could hit 100 bullseyes with 100 shots, right? Every time he'd hit the fucking bullseye from any angle, any direction, upside down, riding a horse, whatever, right? With a fucking blindfold on. 100 out of 100 every time. But then they had a competition in the local regional county or whatever, and he went and he competed for a gold medal. And suddenly he became so anxious and debilitated that he couldn't hit the fucking bullseye not one time, no matter how hard he tried. And that just shows how, like, when you sell out your integrity, it's not worth anything. It's totally valueless, right? So you have to be wary of that. And anyway, I've been studying those types of things since I was a kid, so I know that to be true. Hey, we got another visitor out in Happy Land. Good to see you, amigo. I hope you are doing well. If anybody wants to come up here and co-host and help me hold down the show, it can go longer. But we're already pushing into the second hour, guys, and that's about as long as I can monologue for on my own. So I'm going to drop that link one more time. We're going to watch a little of this video. It says it's 10 minutes. I'll interrupt from time to time to make commentary, and I'll keep reading the chat room. But yeah, if it is what it is, and we'll see where it goes from here, guys. So it says the true prison is not built of walls, but of unquestioned beliefs. Oh, good God in heaven. Yes, that's absolutely true, right? I don't know that everything in this video is going to be true because it's from somewhat of a pessimistic, negative view, like lens in viewing the world and cosmology. But yeah, you should definitely question your beliefs. In fact, you shouldn't even establish a belief without a clearly defined analytical process of examining it. Right? You got to use the scientific method, and in a real sense, not just in the idea that other people did it, so I can believe it. No, that's fucking horseshit. You have to experiment with everything that you pick up and make sure that it works. With that said, let's let this guy do his preamble.
Welcome to Esoteric Guardian. Most people think they know who Jesus was. A prophet, a teacher, a savior, maybe even the Son of God. But what if I told you that in some of the oldest forbidden texts, this figure isn't a symbol of hope, but something far darker? There exists a Gnostic scripture buried for centuries that describes Jesus not as the redeemer of humanity, but as a cosmic trickster. A deceiver who wore the mask of salvation to carry out a mission we were never meant to understand. And here's the terrifying part. What if the entire story of redemption was just another layer of the prison? What if the cross itself was part of the trap? Today we're going to dive into one of the most disturbing possibilities hidden in ancient esotericism, a version of Jesus that the church never wanted you to see. And I warn you now, this isn't going to be comforting, but sometimes the truth isn't. Let's begin.
Yeah, so he starts with a hypothetical, right? And typically I don't like to go too far out into left field with hypotheticals. I call them Russian nesting dolls. And once you start an endless loop like of hypotheticals, right? Once you start going into hypothetical scenarios, then you're just kind of pontificating in the realm of what if, right? And I think that's something of the fantasy of the mind. And I've noticed that like most of these debate channels and stuff, and most of the stuff going on the internet today, these guys don't have any experiential evidence of what they're talking about. And so, like, even one of my favorite pontificators in the field, Dr. Justin Sledge, he talks about the Torah, the Kabbalah, and all types of esotericism and arcane arts and stuff, but he has zero experience with it. So all he can do is talk about the record keeping. And I find that point of view a little bit lacking. And so, what was I going to say? Oh, we can entertain these ideas, but we don't have to believe them, right? Like this dark vision of the Christ. Dr. Godhead Guardian says, I think as long as you are consciously in a state of honesty and authenticity, self-questioning naturally occurs. Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I had presented in that interview, my approach to understanding paranormal and supernatural phenomena. I said I have a multi-model approach, that I always adapt everything through a lens of multiple paradigms, right? That it could have been coincidence, it could have been synchronicity, it could have been brought about by my magic, it could have been I predicted the future, saw it playing out, knew how to interact with it so that it looked like magic. It could be random chance, right? It could be a number of things. Typically, I apply five filters to everything that I've encountered that give me a broad range of possibilities. And I don't limit myself to these isolated boxes of it must be this, that, or the other thing. I think that's horseshit. Mercury is retrograde right now. Allegedly, Mercury was also known as a trickster. Oh yeah, so this might be lining up. Yeah, good magic. And thank you for pointing that out, Godhead Guardian. And thank you for being here, man. Blessings. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys coming in and spending time. Oh, TML started at 6:15. Okay, good magic, man. I appreciate that. I might wrap this one up. Yeah, I'll go another. I don't want to shortcut myself in my development here. So it says 143 on my transmission. I'll go to the 2-hour mark, guys, and then we'll head over to TMLs if you're not already there. Would you consider yourself a white or gray mage? I would consider white and gray magic and black magic just to be distinctions that don't necessarily apply. I would say first and foremost, I'm a magician and I work almost exclusively within the white energy to classify it using color. From time to time, I've dipped in and out of gray, and I've only seldom used black magic, and only in the most extreme situations. But first and foremost, I'm a magician, which means I can use any of the various colors of magic, right? So with the Tree of Life as a guide, I could use Gebura magic, right? Like red magic, militant magic. I could use the magic of Hesed for healing, like a combination of Hesed and Netzach to bring about natural healing. I could use mechanized combination of Gebura and Hod for like an approach of mechanistic warfare against someone. I could just straight dwell in Tifereth and the Christ consciousness and just beam out gushing, loving energy to everyone. Sometimes I work in Yesod. Sometimes I work in Da'ath. Sometimes it's like a direct interaction with the supernal triad. So it just depends, you know. I use the magic as it need be used. I'm a magician, neither white, gray, red, blue, purple, any of those. I'm just the magician, right? But yeah, I would choose to work most of my magic almost exclusively in Keter or Hokmah. Yeah, so white. I would tend towards a pure white magician. Yeah, to answer that straightforwardly. And thank you for the question, Godheart Garden. I appreciate that.
Let's begin where all these ideas converge. Because although we've explored Gnosticism before on this channel, many of you who recently joined us may not yet know the full scope of this forgotten religion. And Gnosticism is not something that can be reduced to a simple heresy or a fringe belief system. It is, in fact, one of the most radical reimaginings of the cosmos ever conceived. A system that turns upside down everything we are taught about God, creation, and salvation. In the Gnostic vision, the universe is not the product of a benevolent creator. It is the result of a cosmic tragedy. Everything begins with Sophia, a primordial emanation of the divine realm, the Pleroma, a dimension of pure spirit, harmony, and perfection. But Sophia, acting alone and without consent from the ultimate source, attempts to create. And in doing so, she gives birth not to a being of light, but to a deformed, ignorant creator, the Demiurge, a false god who, in his arrogance, mistakes himself for the supreme being and proceeds to create the material world in his own flawed image. This is the origin of our reality, according to the Gnostics. A world built not from love, but from error. A cosmos shaped not by wisdom, but by blindness. And thus, everything we experience, matter, suffering, desire, even death, is tainted by this original defect. The Demiurge, believing himself to be the only god, creates the heavens, the earth, and the laws that govern them. But his creation is not complete. It lacks the fullness of the true divine source. It is a counterfeit kingdom, a hollow replica of the spiritual world. Worse still, the Demiurge surrounds himself with archons, hostile cosmic rulers who serve as jailers of the material world. These entities enforce his order, keep souls in ignorance, and maintain the illusion that this world is all there is. They are the gatekeepers of the false reality we inhabit, manipulating human beings through fear, guilt,
I got
and
disconnected,
authority.
guys. Sorry about that.
But deep within the human soul, according to Gnostic belief, there remains a spark of the divine, a fragment of the Pleroma that longs to return to its true home.
Let me see here.
And this is where the mission of Jesus begins.
Nothing's reappeared
In the
yet.
Gnostic texts, he is not the obedient son of the Demiurge. He is the emissary of the hidden God, the true source beyond the false creator. He descends into the material world, not to confirm the laws of the Demiurge, but to break them. Not to die for our sins, but to awaken us to the knowledge that we were never truly sinners to begin with, only prisoners of a flawed system. And this knowledge is what the Gnostics called gnosis. Unlike faith, which is blind belief in something external, gnosis is an inner awakening, a direct, personal experience of the truth. It is not something you can be told or taught. It is something you must encounter within yourself. A revelation that collapses the illusion and exposes the machinery of the false world.
Yeah, that's good magic right there. I think you guys heard that pretty loud and clear. It exposes the machinery of the false world. And that's what TML is going to be doing over at his channel, man. I'm checking the I'm checking the old YouTubes right now, and it shows that I keep disconnecting. Oops, connection lost, reconnecting, connection lost, reconnecting. So that kind of sucks. Which, you know, it's perfect timing anyway. You know, if the internet's going to give me shit, and I've gone just about 2 hours anyway, then I don't need to hang around and push it. We can wrap this show up and head over to the Machine Lies or Cyber Caliphate. Yeah, Cyber Caliphate went live an hour ago, guys. It says 48 minutes. So let me see where he's at in this program. Yeah, he's got good magic going on. He's giving a shout out. So I guess he already made it through his monologue, and he's giving a shout out to everyone now over there at TML. So if you guys haven't checked it out already, let me run the intro, and then we'll sign off for today, guys, because it looks like the internet's going to fight with me anyway. And so as long as they're fighting with me, I might as well just give up, because I don't need to fight. I can stay in the background in the shadows. We'll watch
So we
this
talk
another time. Now
about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies.
Yeah, so now that I've got the video chopped up and I got it at the right size, I can play it here on Restream. Then that'll be good magic for the future, and we can get into some other things, guys. So if you guys don't know already, The Machine Lies is a channel here on YouTube. I believe the guy's name is Mohammed or Kong that is over there transmitting, and so he does that. I think like 3-4 times a week. I usually listen to his show throughout the week when I'm at work, so I don't have time to chime in. But today I have time, so I might be able to jump up on panel and chat with him a little bit. It's a really good show, guys. I appreciate you coming by to see me, all y'all good-looking, sexy people out in Happy Land. I remind you, you might stop by the old coffee page and put a little something in the tip jar if you appreciate the good work I'm doing over here on this show. That'll put the lead in my pencil, the pep in my step, and the jelly in my donut. I can appreciate that. Y'all good looking, sexy people, keep on keeping on. Let me see. What can I finish with here? Yeah, I'll just finish with his ad, guys. And then I'll redirect the stream over to the Machine That Lies. Not that I have the power to do that from my platform, but I'll just say that I'll see you over there. So keep doing good magic, everyone, and enjoy. Let's see here. How do I do this? Bam. There it is there.
Basically, on the stream, The Machine Lies, we're taking a very critical look at technology. So the reason we're doing that is because we're looking at the medium that is used to communicate, right, and transmit information, right? We don't think that any form of mediation is neutral, right, but it's laden with values. And so I think that the well has been polluted by technology. So obviously we take a critical look at technology, right? Okay, we're looking at different concepts in relation to technology, right? In terms of philosophy, right? And in terms of religion. Now, that is one of the main purposes of the show, is that we really look at where technology and religion, science, and spirituality, where those things intersect, right? Because there's a crisis of the modern world in which there's a majority of the modern world is religious people. Their mindset is secular, and the means they employ are secular. We're living in a post-liberal, post-human, post-geological age, right? So we're talking about the death of liberalism, the rise of the world technological system. Now, we do think that, okay, there's a considerable level of externalization of the ego, okay, and mediation of ourselves through the means we employ. So obviously, we shape tools, but the tools we use shape us, right? So that's one of the main things we're trying to get across on the show is how technology changes human psychology. If you question the means you employ and what the objective factors of power are in our age, right, then that's the most important question you can ask. Right, that's the most critical stance you could actually take. Right, like most people don't question, how or what means they use to question to ask the question itself. Right, so we're actually taking a critical look at technology, right, as a primary form of communication, as an objective factor of power in our age. Right, and we think that basically we're assuming that a lot of the stuff that we see through this medium is totally made up, right, fabricated, and that is based on the fact that it is artifice. It's produced by a machine, right? So we talk about the lies of the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Good magic. So it looks like Saucy Tacos stopped by to say hello and made an ill-founded comment. What did he say? He said, "I'm going to have fun reviewing this slander." I'm glad I was able to produce some content for you there, Greasy Tacos. I hope you enjoy it. Of course, I did not slander. I never do. I just gave my opinion on the situation and the way it played out. I think that any truthful listener could go in there and compare what I said, my interpretation of how the events went down, with what actually went down, and that anything I say is more closely aligned with the truth than the horse shit that you pontificated. If I had the energy or interest in talking to you about it, I would invite you up, but I don't, because I'd rather go over and sit in the classroom with TML for a while. And yeah, so it is what it is. You're a dirty bird, man. And that's no slander. That's just my fucking opinion. You're an incel basement dweller and not worth my time or anyone else's time, really. For the most part, that's the opinion I've generated of you, because you moved the goalposts. You took what was supposed to be an interview and turned it into an interrogation, and in your mind, what you felt to be an intervention based on your limited knowledge and experience and lack of foresight. So suck a dick, and I hope all the happy listeners out in Happy Land enjoyed the show. Y'all good-looking, sexy people, keep on doing good magic. And until next time, your friend and well-wisher, Frank Monday, wishing you good magic.